This is the I'm Local podcast with Lincoln.
Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the I'm Local podcast. On the I'm Local podcast, we feature local businesses, local entrepreneurs, superheroes that are doing great things in our community. And today, I'm so excited to have Dr. Steve Ingersoll and Mackenzie Harris with us today. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So I understand. So you guys are working on something phenomenal, and it is called Iconics. And I just want you to start from the beginning for me. I want you to break that down for me. Tell us like what the program is, what you guys are doing, and how you're helping people in our local community.
Dr.
Would you
Steve,
like
I
me
think that's a
to
good question
begin?
for you.
All right. Well, what we're doing is we have a fundamental way of thinking, almost everyone. If I ask you any question at all, if you know the answer, it is because an image has popped into your head. Do you own a bicycle, Lincoln?
Yes, I do.
You just saw the bicycle, I'm sure.
Did.
Yeah. Okay. So we could extrapolate that. Now, there's some exceptions that we'll talk about a little bit, but the operating system of your memory, of your consciousness, of your thinking is imagery that you create, store away, and recall. And it's even more profound than that. You know what you know because you have scenes that you create in your mind, which is different than your brain. So your mind and your brain are two different things. And your mind is kind of mysterious. Where is it? We don't know exactly, but we do know that it seems to be visually based. We create imagery to guide our actions. You know, we should, if you look at the attributes of human beings, we should be extinct. We don't run very fast. We can barely swim. We can't fly. We have no claws. We should be dead. But of course, we have the one magic tool, and that is we can predict through imagery, and so we know where those predators are or going to be. That is the tool of human beings. That is the thing that we possess that is really the tool of dominion. And so those among us who can see through time and space, let's just say photographic memory, but also extending into the future, those that can picture what's going to happen with the greatest accuracy are successful, no matter what field we're talking about. And isn't that what we really do when we point our eyes at books?
Yes.
It's not the words on the page. It's the imagery that we create that is the goal. So Iconics is all about bringing the neuroscience of vision, and I contrast that from eyesight. Two different things. Sight might be I read the eye chart. Vision is this thing that I construct in my mind. I put my hand in a bag, I feel around. The moment of knowing is the moment that I construct imagery of that thing from the sensory input of my hand. So it doesn't matter where the information from the environment comes from. It's when I convert it into this picture, that's when I know. So the way of knowing things, be it from a book or my hand in a bag, is this construction of imagery business. So that's really what education ought to be pointed at. And language is not thought. Language is a description of thought. Thought itself is visual.
Yes.
And so what Iconics does is we point our educational approach at getting good at imagery, because once imagery is in place, language to describe the imagery becomes easy. And that's the difference between successful students and poor students. Successful students have something to say or write because they're describing the imagery, which is the basis of their understanding. The kids that don't have much to say, it's because they don't have imagery. They don't have understanding about what it is we're talking about or what you might do with that thing that you recall. So, for example, your bicycle, you might decide right now that tonight you're going to go for a bike ride. And you would envision that, and indeed maybe even the path that you're going to go, or the path that you did in the past and you want to replicate it in the future. So this visual phenomenon that we do with our minds is the vehicle by which we transcend time and space. I think to the past, I project to the future. That is the key skill of human beings. It allows me to transcend time and space. Where is your bicycle, by the way?
It's in my shed in the backyard.
Oh, and if I started asking you, could you name 5 items that are to the right of the bicycle? You could do that.
I can do that.
Or how about to the left? It's as if you're standing in your shed looking at your bicycle.
That's
You
right.
have this incredible capacity to transcend all the laws of Newton and just appear in your shed. And now you're looking right as if you were standing there. That is the power of the visual mind. That's the thing that we're working on, is helping students develop that photographic memory, you might say, that eidetic capacity is another word for visual scenes, and put that to use in not only education, but the stuff of life, no matter what endeavor you're involved in. So that's kind of an intro to what we're doing. And we're helping moms teach their kids how to do that. And they certainly can. And that's the program that Mackenzie will describe. It's a mom's training group that learn techniques to help their kids hone this most important of human skills.
That is amazing, because I remember when my daughter Mackenzie was going through doing a little bit of this, started just a little bit and was visualizing and went through the process of visualizing the presidents. I think that's what she started out to remember all of the United States presidents. And I remember those visual cues that
We
were
call
given.
those icons.
Yes.
Thus the name iconics.
Iconic.
We use visual mnemonic icons.
Yes.
Little pictures that are easy to remember.
Yes. So what I'm really interested to find out is, so why, 2-part question here. Why aren't traditional schools using this method? And also, if there's a student that, for example, they don't like reading that much, they would rather watch TV, or they would rather watch YouTube, and they just see something and they go out and they do it. Really don't like to read. How can you help those students?
Well, let's explore that. The people that are good at reading, that is to say, good at creating visual scenarios while looking at text. Those people will say, if you ask them, what do you like better, the movie or the book? They always say book. The people that aren't skilled at creating imagery when looking at books, they say movie, because they're doing the reading incorrectly. Those that are great readers, there are really only 3 types of readers. Type 1 readers are predictive imagers. That is, they create imagery and then they look at the book for confirmatory clues, mostly nouns. We know we can track eye movement during reading. Those that are great readers look at about a third of the words, and they're mostly nouns. And the interval of time that they spend looking at words is very brief. They're simply confirming the imagery they created. Then there's the type 2 reader. They look at every single word, and they pause on each word a little bit longer. What they're doing is looking at the visual word, converting it to speech in their mind, listening to the speech, and then creating imagery. That's a lot of people like that.
Yes.
And then there's the unfortunate disabled reader, we'd call them, or learning disabled reader, or dyslexic. What they're doing, their eyes reveal what they're doing. They look at syllables. They are phonologically decoding, serial phonologic decoding. That's type 3 readers. They're very unsuccessful, and they hate reading. They'll only do it. And if you ask these kids, what's the hard part of reading? They always say the same thing. What do you think that is?
Visual.
Words. They say, I hate reading because I don't like words, because they're struggling to figure out what those darn things are. Whereas the type 1 reader, if you ask them, what do you remember from? Or you say to the type 1 reader, do you remember turning pages? No. Do you remember even looking at words? No. They're only doing imagery. That's the only thing they recall. The type 2 readers have a mixed response. They remember and they slog through. Sometimes they get to the end of the page and they go, what was that about?
Well, yeah.
And so they work much harder. So we're teaching people to read the type 1 way, which is, of course, the reasonable. I mean, that's what education should be doing.
Yes.
But instead, our primary remedial strategy is essentially the prime characteristics of the worst readers among us is phonologic decoding. And so our remedial strategy is copy the worst readers among us? That doesn't make sense. That's not correct. That's why it doesn't work. So, I mean, it works to the extent that you might come up to a type 2 reader. But those people will never become the voracious reader because they don't understand that the prime directive of reading is the construction of imagery, of meaning.
Yes. Yes.
And all the rest of it doesn't matter. And so that's a whole shift. And so you ask, well, this is a fairly recent revelation. This is all out of the recent neuroscience. We now know that frontal lobe dominant imagery, as opposed to language-based Broca's area, I won't get into the neuroanatomy of it, but the bottom line is vision is dominant.
Yes.
And if we teach to that, kids flourish.
Yes.
And we've proven that, and we know that's true. We just need to revamp how we teach to respect the dominant feature of human consciousness, which is, of course, imagery.
Yes. Wow. Wow. That is like that's so amazing. And I'm glad that you guys are doing this and implementing this, because there are so many students and adults, for that matter, that have not, actually learned how to do this skill. And, so I know as the students are being taught, the parents also are going to learn as well. And so
that's the key to this. There's a lot of complex neuroscience to this, but we've boiled it down to a simple approach. So it's very complex, but reduced to a simple approach that any parent and every parent should know, and every teacher should know. And Mackenzie has worked up a program to support, our goal is to support homeschoolers and all adults. We need to spread this message that you don't even need to know any of this to know there's something wrong with our education system. I mean, barefoot Ethiopian kids are beating us up every year in the international, there's something wrong, and we know what it is now. We're targeting language when we should be targeting imagery skill. And the language skills will flow effortlessly and naturally if you get imagery skill first. And so what we've done is we're targeting moms and teachers to learn, and other types of practitioners, optometrists, speech therapists, occupational therapists, the helping professions, and medicine too. We're trying to get a network. We do have a nationwide network now of practitioners and parents and teachers that have formed together this Iconics network, IconicsLearningClinic.com. There's a bunch of them around the country, and IconicsInstitute.com. You can go there and get more information. But Mackenzie has developed a mom's. Go ahead, explain what this program is.
Also, IconicsLearningClinic.com, absolutely the local one for anyone who is in the area, is going to be Superpowers for Good with Lori. But yes, so
say that
the
again.
Iconics
Superpowers for Good.
Yes. So to kind of talk about the Iconics homeschool program, I've been working a lot one-on-one with parents with the Iconics Central for a really, really long time. And the one thing that seems pretty common with the parents is that they want a homeschool program that makes sense for their kids, but they don't want to be alone anymore. Because when you are a homeschool mom or dad, you buy whatever books and whatever lessons and whatever box plan it is. And if it doesn't work for your kid, you either go and buy more or you try to make that one work. And it ends up becoming the struggle with relationships and the struggle with learning. And, it becomes really overwhelming, especially, getting to the point where as a parent, you wonder if you're the one that's supposed to be doing this. And the answer is yes. You are the perfect person to be doing this because you know your child better than anyone. And that's an incredible place to start. And so what we've developed is it's for moms to come in and meet with other moms. We keep the pods pretty small because we want it to be individualized. We want it to be efficient. We don't want it to be like you're coming onto a meeting with 1,000 people. That'd be crazy. To make sure that you get the support that you have and you have access to someone who's in charge, a leader who understands a little bit more of the developmental hierarchies than you do. So you can always ask questions and you have someone, whenever you need that support. And then if there's anything that's a little bit higher level, then you also have your own diagnostician of thinking that they can connect you with to be able to help your child. But the main thing that I love about this program, because you were talking about kids who don't like reading, who kind of are evasive when it comes to learning, this is the only program that I've ever seen that is concept first, so imagery first, concept first, and then we very purposefully direct the children into text once they develop the proper skills and we help them achieve that. So any learning that occurs, it doesn't matter if you're in kindergarten or if you're in 10th grade, the concept is always going to start the same with a big picture framework. Think of it like blueprints to a building. You wouldn't start building a building with just bricks and sticks. You would have a plan, a picture. And so that way, when they go toward the very complex text, they already know where to put it. They already know exactly where everything goes. Go ahead.
Yes. So let's just say whole to part as opposed to part to whole. Let me give a little analogy that would make this. Sherlock Holmes and his sidekick Watson appear at the crime scene. Watson gets out his notebook and starts jotting down hundreds of little observations. Holmes sees a couple of things, leaps to an image that transcends time and space. He sees the whole thing unfold, and he sits down and leisurely lights his pipe. Watson continues his labors, one little thing at a time, to be collated later. He's picking up little parts.
Yes.
And later he's going to analyze and see if he can come up with a picture of the scene. Holmes, on the other hand, leads with the formation of an image. That's what he's looking for. Watson is looking for the little things, And of course, Holmes finishes his pipe and finally says, "It's elementary, my dear Watson." So Holmes is using the whole to part. He's starting with the understanding, the big picture, then all the little dots, all the little things that Watson's writing down, they make sense immediately when you conceptualize the whole. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of like Jeopardy, we give the answer first,
Right.
then all the parts come, then the questions, all the little, so it organizes the data. Currently, we're doing a language-based approach, and think about words as particles that add up together to form thoughts, which are imagery. Word. A picture's worth 1,000 words, they say, right?
That's right.
So I got to speak or write 1,000 words to get the picture. What if you started with the picture? Then the 1,000 words would be easy to write.
That's right.
That's what we're doing.
Yes.
We're teaching.
When I, as you guys are talking, I'm myself visualizing in seeing different objects and seeing pictures. And I'll tell you, I was not the vivacious reader when I was going through high school, and I know, and that's why I'm asking these questions, because okay, I went to high school and way back in the day. However, I'm glad now for students that are coming up that this Iconics program is in place and it's becoming worldwide and it's here in Henry County so that people can take advantage of it. And that's the purpose of this, really, to share what you guys are doing, spread the word, and let other people know. And even like you said, Mackenzie's working with the moms and working with the parents or the dads. And then also I can see another layer of this where schools now are starting to realize, okay, we may need to shift a little bit. We're realizing that maybe there are some students that are lagging behind, and maybe this is an approach that we need to implement so that we can move these students further along and they can be on par with everybody else.
We're even starting schools. We've started a number of schools, and it's a kind of an extension of homeschool.
Yes.
So we articulate homeschoolers with church-based. We usually use the church because the facility is open during school hours, and the culture is one that the parents have chosen. So we're building schools in churches and articulating that with homeschoolers so that kids can move on a part-time basis, 1 day a week, 2 days a week, half a day a week, every now and then, or episodically, as mom's life schedule dictates. Kids can go to the affiliated school and be supported at home by the Iconics network. And so it's really a hybrid between homeschooling and schools that we establish in that geography so that the group of homeschoolers can have a brick and mortar gathering place.
Yes.
And the methods are a coincidence so that they can seamlessly move back and forth. And each of those schools has clinical support from Iconics so that we make good diagnosis and prescribe instruction.
Yes.
And then the curriculum is delivered both to home and school in the same manner so they can move back and forth easily.
That's phenomenal.
And,
So in go ahead, Mackenzie.
if I may, I just wanted to let you know that we are going to be having a live Q&A coming up. So if anyone wants to learn more about the homeschool program, and we'll have a little bit more time to kind of answer questions and explain, because I know that this is very, very backwards from what people are used to, and it is intentional, and we want to show why it's going to be the difference. But if you want, I can give you that
So
after.
definitely, yes, that would be great. I would love to share when you guys are doing that, a Q&A, because I'm sure there will be a ton of parents, and I know I was talking to Lori, and there's some students that are at some of the private schools that she said she was working with one or two of the students, and the parent approached the school and they weren't really receptive because a lot of times either it's their decision, and when
It's
you're
hard.
talking with the curriculum person, yes, it's
Yeah,
very
it's
difficult.
hard when it's run by other people. You don't have the kind of freedom to be able to cater to each individual student, and a lot of times people will just say it's not possible. But with our
Right.
approach, it is, and it's very cool, if I do say so myself.
If I may, traditionally, both public and private schools have a set curriculum and a set way of teaching and a set way of promoting kids
Yes.
by age or other criteria. And kids come in all variety of states of development, and then we try to wedge those kids into an existing system. That's not correct. What is best is we do a diagnosis as to the child's state of development and build a program around each kid. Now, that may sound impossible, but it's not.
It's not.
Because we understand the timetables and hierarchies of brain development and physical development. And we can build a whole variety of activities that match each child's state of the sophistication. And that's really what needs to be done. We need to build schools around kids as opposed to wedging kids into existing school systems.
Right.
So the systems don't work. You don't need to understand any of what I'm saying to know that the systems don't work. They just don't. They work maybe half the time.
Right.
And that's almost, I don't want to criticize.
We're leaving too many people behind.
Yeah, it's because we're not customizing properly, and it's because we're not diagnosing properly.
Yes.
And that's because the latest neuroscience is just simply not known out in the world. I mean, we built these systems. They're constrained. They're sclerotic. They don't work very well, and we can't change them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just not right. I mean, here we are spending the most per pupil in the history of mankind, and we rank 50th out of 70th internationally every year. How can this be?
Yes.
And how can it be that kids without even schools or shoes
Yes.
outperform our kids? We must be doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And we are.
Absolutely.
So we've got to start looking at what we know from the neurosciences. We need to revamp what we're doing. I mean, think about this. Everything in society 100 years ago, today, it's totally unrecognizable. Communications, transportation,
Everything.
nothing is recognizable except education, which looks about the same.
Right.
So we're doing it wrong, and we need to fix that. But Mackenzie, when is this Q&A, isn't it?
Yes, it's going to
What's the
be
date
this
on
Friday. So June 27th at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and I am including Eastern time. I know we're local, but I'm doing that because if you know anybody who has a struggling learner at home, or even just somebody who wants to excel their kid, because this is not just meant for children who are struggling. We are targeting them a little bit because we'd like to help them catch up. But it is for anybody and everybody who is interested in having a full basis of understanding concepts, as opposed to memorizing, taking a test, and then leaving it in the dust. So 10 a.m. Eastern Time, June 20th.
We want a whole bunch of home.
All right. So we have that date that we're going to get that link out to as many people as we can. They can jump on and listen to this information. You know, this is very, very critical information that I think what you guys are doing with this Iconics program is phenomenal. Like you said, the only thing that hasn't changed in all this time has been the education system. And that is something where I think there's leaps and bounds that can be happening with students that, like you said, in the United States are lagging behind, and they can be so much further and feel so much more confident in the way they handle, the way they read, the way they do math, the science, everything can be so much easier for them, and they don't have to struggle when they can learn the way they need to learn through this Iconics program. Dr. Steve, I really appreciate you coming on. Mackenzie, love what you're doing with the moms and the students. And I want to ask you guys, what's one thing that you can leave with folks that are going to watch this and listen about your program before we jump?
Good, Mackenzie. If you can.
We're going to change your child's life. We're going to change your child's life.
Yeah.
In one way or another, we can help anybody and everybody. And that's a big statement to say that you can help everybody. That's really quite large. But the reason that we can is because we go through the process of understanding the child from a neurological standpoint, developmental standpoint, psychological standpoint. And because of that, and we lead with being safe and loving your children, learning will follow.
You know, the thing is, just about everybody learns and remembers eidetically, photographically. So everyone could bring that same powerful learning capacity to school, but most people don't.
Yes.
You know, think about how you remember everything in your life. You know, when you see a chair, you immediately, at the moment of viewing, understand that it's a chair. But when you come to CHAIR, that may not be the case. If you are thinking of it in terms of part to whole, you might be trying to piece together sound. That's the wrong move. The word chair, among those that are good with language, written language, like in spelling, you and I, we see chair in our minds before we pick up the pencil.
That's right.
You know, I ask you, how do you spell the word because? You have no problem because you just saw it.
Yes.
The kid that spells BEKUZ, before he picks up the pencil, he's got the wrong sensory experience in his mind. He is trying to make sound come out the end of his pencil. A losing strategy, right? So these learning problems are strategic problems. They're not intellectual problems. They're making an error of thought. So I would leave you with this. Children that struggle because of strategic thinking errors as opposed to intellectual errors. And those that are great students, they learn at the speed of sight. They see what I mean when I speak. They see and extrapolate into future potentials, be it in the symbol realm of written word or in the physical world. Wayne Gretzky says, I skate to where the puck will be. Yes, that's what separates the guy. Larry Bird, how could that guy be good at basketball? He's slow, but his mind was ahead. Magic Johnson, fantastic passes because he knows where they will be.
Yes.
But he's out in the future compared to the other guys. And, you know, athletes say, the game slowed down for me, meaning they were already there. Before it was time to act, they already saw it. That's what's going on with hyperactivity, too. Hyperactive kids are in real time exploring with their hand. The rest of us are way ahead of them because we already did it visually. We don't need our hands. Our vision preceded our hand and made it unnecessary. So attention deficit hyperactive disorder is not a condition. One doesn't have ADHD, one does ADHD.
Yes.
And it's not a condition, it's a lack of visual skill. When the visual mind replaces physicality, I sit still and zoom into the future.
That's right.
And that's what I do when I read. I'm on the sailing ship chasing the white whale, I'm there,
Yes.
literally there, just like you in the shed and the bicycle.
That's right.
That's the tool. And we've got a center on that tool, and everybody can learn that. And it's fairly simple.
That's right.
To do exercises that improve and enhance and bring that skill to the forefront. So every mom and every teacher and every doctor need to know this. And it's fairly recent, and so it's not widely known. And that's the only way we're going to improve education is
That's
to
right.
get it right with the way people actually learn.
That's right. That's right. So one parent, one household at a time, and you can continue to build this, and it will continue to move forward. So I really truly appreciate you both for being on today. Mackenzie, we're gonna get folks on your Q&A so they can partake in that. Dr. Steve, so profound. I'm looking at the bike in the shed. And so, I'm excited about this and what you guys are doing. So truly appreciate you for being on today. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us, Lincoln.